do either of you know, when they merged the schools, Shamokin and Coal Township, they
65,
kept purple and white,
yes.
where'd the Indians come from?
Well,
Not a greyhound or...
there were votes. We voted on colors. We voted on everything,
Yeah.
and then eventually there were probably some backroom deals that none of us were aware of
Right,
either.
yeah.
Because we had the principals. Who was going to be the principal? There's the first Shamokin principal right
Oh,
there.
Yeah.
And then same thing with the football coach. Who's going to be the football coach? Who's going to? And there was battles over all that stuff.
Yeah.
And it happened everywhere, not just here. You know, Mount Carmel joined with Coltmont. They had their problems. Line Mountain had terrible problems because they had a group in Trevorton who were more like coal miners, and they had a group down in the farm country in Mahanoy area or Mahanoy Joint, and they're all farmers. And to put those two together, I mean, there was just a lot of that kind of stuff. Northumberland and Sunbury, they couldn't stand each other. They had all kinds of reasons that they didn't want to join.
And would you say it was 600 to 300? Like they cut it in half? The state mandated
It might have been more than that. There might have been all closer to 900. I'm not sure how many there were when they decided to pass the decree, but they ended up with 501.
The decision was made to both schools had, Township and Shamokin both had full schedules for the following year. And the decision was made, let's go with the Shamokin schedule. And this was done innocently. In the long run, it might have been the wrong decision, but anyway, it was done innocently, taken. So anyway, with doing that, a number of schools on that so-called Shamokin schedule were dropping out of the contracts that they had with Shamokin. They didn't want to play what they thought was going to be this powerhouse team, and they preferred not to do it. Well, the bottom line was, when it was all filtered out, Shamokin did not have an opening game. The rest of the schedule, but had not have and it's terrible not to have an opening game because that's your money game. You know, if the weather's nice, that's when the most people are going to be there, going to make some money. So, and I was involved with that with Chuck Peters, who was the athletic director. We hunted all over the state to try to find, with ads and everything, to try to find an opening game. Now you have to remember, which Ned alluded to, the fanatic loyalty that both schools still had to their old school, but here's this new school. So finally we find out that Shippensburg has an opening. So we called down to Shippensburg, explained our plight. We said, we'd even come down to you to play. If you don't want to come up here next year, that's okay, but we want an opening game. We'll be willing to come down to your place. So they said, well, we'll get back to you, which they did, and they decided they didn't want to do that. And the reason it was all really something is that first game, had we had Shippensburg, Shippensburg was the maroon and gray greyhounds. Unbelievable, unbelievable. But that could have happened. But
and one other funny story, and I don't know if you get that's on tape, but Beaners can tell you this. I don't know how it worked, how it shook out. I was only a student at the time. I was a junior in high school, but there were only like 4 or 5 teachers from Coal Township. There were only like 4 or 5 teachers who were at the high school, and the high school is where the arts building is.
Okay.
How all those other Coal Township teachers didn't end up in a high school, I was never clear on that. But it was maybe Ed Sudd and Ed Binkoski and Alice McDevitt, and that's all we need to hear are those names, because when they would drive Alice to school, Beaners, tell them the first couple of weeks.
Alice was such a staunch Coal Townshipper, that great teacher, she wouldn't go in. We'd bring her over, and she'd stay in the car. We would have to actually physically drag her into the building to teach it. Wow. She wouldn't go in. She just wouldn't go in. Yeah. She was such a Coal Townshipper. I'm not going in. We take her over the next morning. I'm not going in today. Alice, you're going in. I'm not going in. And we'd have to pull her in. I mean, it was.
A little lady.
I mean, it just was so many things that went on. You know, were.
That's like the old joke when the guy said, "I'm not going to school today. I'm not going to school." Honey, you have to go to school. You're the principal. Hey guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thanks for everything.
Thanks, Ned.